Headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Let's start then on the position of Boris Johnson. How are you rating our leader on this so far, Sir Iain? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, I think he's doing what you would expect him to do. He's trying to galvanise the support amongst the other NATO nations for Ukraine. One of the things I've just heard back from Adam Holloway, who's an MP colleague of mine, we both served in the army. He's actually out in Ukraine. He went out there for 3 days, and he's just literally on the telephone said to me, if you can get a message back, the thing that they need most of all at the moment is further supplies of the really successful Javelin handheld missile, which knocks out tanks and has been incredibly successful. And they need more and more air defense because the Russians are piling in now with their aircraft, which they didn't do at quite the same level. So I'm going to be relaying that as soon as this interview is over, back to Downing Street to say this is their number one try at the moment. The second thing, of course, is we do have, our arms in a way tied behind our backs because there's been huge amounts of military supplies going in. And, of course, the UK government put the GBT military team in that's trained the Ukrainians. Much of their real efficiency now is down to the fact that way back in 2015-16, we started training the Ukrainian forces, and they're now much, much better than they were back in 2014 when they were rolled over in the Crimea by the Russians. So their incredible fight is due to a lot more professionalism, which is great, and, of course, the desire for freedom. And I think the problem we face in NATO is to what degree are we able to take direct part? So they are asking for a no-fly zone. The problem is, as the Prime Minister has explained, that the problem is if you put our aircraft up there, at some point you're going to have to shoot down a Russian plane. Yeah. And the moment that starts, then Russia will say that this is an attack on Russia, which is what they want, and then they'll start widening their arc of combat. Now, you don't know where this man is with regards to nuclear weapons, so we've got to be slightly cautious.
Of course.
But, I feel as impotent as anybody else does sitting here, desperately wanting to help the Ukrainians, but scratching my head about how much more we can do.
There is a lot of talk of sort of David and Goliath about all of this, but of course, and I don't know whether that does define the scenario, if you like, but Ukraine does have the backing of the West, and as you alluded to with your conversation with Adam Holloway, it's a case of getting that armoury, that kit to Ukraine. I mean, that in itself is not a simple task.
No, it's not. I mean, earlier on, of course, they'd have flown it in, but they can't really fly it in now because Russian aircraft are shooting down anything in the air. So they're left really, there's no sea route in, so that sea route is now locked off by the Russians. So there is really only the routes coming in from the west, from Poland and some of the Latvian states. And that's a problem because, of course, they are now beginning to watch the border with their own high sort of AWACS type aircraft and trying to figure out, are they getting supply convoys in, and then they're trying to take them on. So it's not the easiest thing to get them in, but I think the UK government and others are actually getting those supplies in. So that's important. It's just that they need more of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's early days, and goodness me, we'd all love to think this could be over today and everything goes back to some semblance of normality. That the smart money, of course, Iain says that isn't going to happen. Thus far, the Ukrainians have done rather well, if that is the correct terminology, in defending themselves. I mean, they are claiming they've taken the lives of over 5,000 Russian troops. Whether we can confirm that is another story, but nonetheless, it does look as if Russia haven't performed in the military sense in the way that perhaps we thought they could do.
Well, we've all been a bit concerned about the Russian tactics altogether, really. They seem to have had a lot of conscripts in. But, you have to say the Ukraine forces and also the volunteers, they haven't just done well. They've done absolutely bloody brilliantly. Excuse me for swearing, but, I really feel quite emotional about it. I mean, these guys were handing weapons out to people who had never had any military training. There's about 180,000 rifles gone out to these guys, and they are the reason why the Russians aren't making as much progress down the road, because they are literally refusing to budge. And that means to get rid of that, you need a very effective, very efficient and determined force of soldiers. And I think quite a lot of this I hear from one or two sources that a lot of these Russians are, appearing in front of their Ukrainian adversaries to find that they're shouting Russian at them. asking why they're here. And some of them have just abandoned their positions and run. But, the reality is the Ukrainians are determined to defend their homeland. And you can only just sit and nod your head in absolute awe at their incredible courage.
And just finally, what's your gut telling you on this? What do you think is likely to happen? Putin, we have this idea of being some kind of philosophical mastermind playing a game of chess. It might look a bit like snakes and ladders at the moment, more like, but nonetheless, this is not a man that's going to go quietly.
No, and he simply can't afford to fail to reach his objectives. It's as simple as that. You see, that's that extra column of armoured column with troops will be coming in now. I dare say they'll have more of the serious professional guys coming in as well. He's stepped up his aerial bombardment in a way that he hadn't done in the earlier few days. He's now targeting really significant parts of towns in the east and also Kyiv as well. So he's going to throw everything at it. What he's looking to do is either take one of those cities or at least cut Kyiv off. It's got a 27-mile narrow corridor running all the way in, which is his last way of getting goods and things in and machines, etc. So that's also pretty tough. So they are really going at it, and they'll try and surround and cut Kyiv off completely. I don't think they'll try doing house-to-house combat, because that soaks up huge amounts of soldiers, because it's probably the most dangerous and difficult thing to do is to take a town or a city. But I think what they look to be doing is to cut Kyiv off completely from the rest of the world and to take at least one of the cities in the east. At that point, I think he will then think or be able to say, well, I am now in control. And either you come to the table and agree on my terms or I carry on. I don't think, I'm not sure how long they can carry on for, because it looks like there's more and more concern in Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Iain Duncan Smith, thank you.
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.